Welcome, friends, fiends, and familiars to the Comic Fiends Comic Friends. On this show, I bring on friends to talk about comics. This week, we're doing something a little bit different since we just saw Avengers Infinity War and I felt like I wanted to talk about it. So this week, I brought back a friend, Mr. Excellent, and we're gonna talk about Avengers Infinity War. And if this wasn't obvious, this is gonna have a lot of spoilers. So if you're worried about Avengers spoilers, what are you doing? Don't get out of here. Come back after you see it. And then come listen to us talk. But first things first, so I saw it on Saturday. You saw it on Saturday as well.
Saw it on Saturday as well, yeah.
What is that? May? I can't remember the date anymore. It's gone. But
actually, it was...
It wasn't even May yet.
It was the 28th?
Yeah.
It was the 28th.
Yeah. Just about the end of April. I went first thing in the morning, first matinee showing, it was like 9:55 in the morning. Just in town, at our little theater here. But you, my friend, went a little bit further.
Yeah, I wanted to catch this at an IMAX screening, specifically one that wasn't in 3D, because I know that this wasn't really filmed for that format necessarily. But, before, when they shot Civil War, there was that airport scene that they filmed in IMAX, and you can kind of see the screen expand a little bit when they filmed with the IMAX cameras for that cut.
Huh.
The entire film used the entirety of that IMAX screen. So they weren't messing around when they said that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how was it for you? Because I definitely want to go back and see it again with, maybe not all the bells and whistles. It takes... Just driving out there,
Yeah, about how far did you drive for it? Because I had to look it up afterwards, and it was...
it was a 3-hour drive, and we were traveling... It was on a major highway as well, so I wasn't going slow.
Mm-hmm.
But, my wife was game, and it was worth the experience, Packed theater, I mean, we could definitely... tell that something, that records were going to go down just being there. And, it was pretty spectacular. The theater that we went to, they had that arranged seating, and, I wanted to sit close enough so that, it was almost like you lose the frame. And you sort of become immersed in it as they advertise. You sit too far in an IMAX theater, you might as well just go to a regular theater, it seems,
Right.
It was great.
Excellent. So, okay, then I guess we'll just start talking about the movie. Overall feelings, I guess, before we get into the specifics?
I've been following the Twitter reactions, and I have to agree with them. It's exhausting, but in a way that it's not exhausting in a bad way for me. But I mean, one of the things that I texted you when I got out of the screening was I had anxiety, almost like to a degree that I only feel when I see a horror film.
Yeah.
It was something else, a little bit of shock, I mean, we're going right into spoilers. When the screenwriters, and it might have even been Kevin Feige, who said, "Be careful what you wish for on character deaths," and people are guessing 1 or 2 deaths. I had no idea.
Yeah.
That they were going to go after. I mean, they went after all the big top earners. Black Panther still making money.
Yep.
The number 5 movie in the theaters, the weekend that Infinity War dropped, it actually jumped up 3 places, killed them. Vaporized them anyways.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, he's got a sequel coming out, but gone.
Yeah.
So, a lot of shock, a lot of mouth open, just like involuntarily,
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I said this to you, but going into the movie and just because I avoid trailers, for the most part, if I know I'm going to see a movie, I'm just not going to bother with the trailer. You know me.
Yeah.
So after that first one, or after that kind of teaser one, I was like, all right, I'm going to see the movie. Everybody shut up. I'm not going to see this. So, I caught just being on the internet, you catch little bits and little things everywhere. And so, I got the feeling or just thinking okay, if characters are going to die in this movie, my feeling. I was going to that movie ready to lose Cap and ready to lose Tony. Like, that was what I was like. I was like, okay, this is probably what's going to happen. Somebody's going to get their head crushed. I don't know what it is. Like, that was just like the joke that was going around, I guess. And then in the movie, when we get to the part where like Tony gets sliced up, like blade to the gut, I'm like, okay, this is it. Here we are. And because, after that point, we'd already encountered a few just straight up character deaths. And so I was sort of primed for it. And then when they doubled back on it, there was this feeling of relief. Like, oh, okay. Whew, Tony's fine. Wait, what does it mean? What does it mean? This movie's going to end like in like less than 30 minutes. I feel like, so what's going to happen here? And then, having read Infinity Gauntlet, I don't know if you have or not.
I haven't read it. Seen a lot of in-depth like analysis on the ongoings in that story. But can't say I actually read it for myself or anything like that. But
I have it here, so I can hand it to you if you want to check it out, or if you don't want to read it, then that's fine too. But I have having read it, I didn't know they were gonna do what happened in the comic. I didn't know they were gonna do that, because he did succeed in the comic at that level, and some of the shots were pretty much like straight out of it. Like when he comes out of his little house, his little hut at the end. It's not hut, but whatever, his tent.
The horizon. Or
yeah, just like chilling out. Yeah, I'm good. Like that was if I'm thinking right, that did happen in the comics, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess. Yeah, sure, fine. Do everything. I didn't know you were gonna do that one. That and just some of the shots, like it felt a lot more futile. I think in the comic, like just not even a fight. Like when it happened.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that the way that they portrayed his power levels. When I watched Winter Soldier for the first time, and before I guess they revealed Bucky to the audience, comic fans knew it was Bucky, but I mean, this was a character who every time he was on screen, it was like, oh my gosh, like somebody's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
And with Thanos, it was at that next level. It was like, if he touches somebody, I was scared that was it. At the very beginning of the film, he takes the Hulk out. Iron Man, he pushed the Hulk through a building in Age of Ultron. They took an entire skyscraper down, and he got up from that.
Mm-hmm.
But a Thanos punch took him out. And so when he punched Iron Man in the head, I thought, oh my gosh, he's dead. And when he hits Cap, when he punches Cap in the face, I thought, oh my gosh, Cap is dead,
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, I've never felt that level of danger. Almost like, like poison skin or something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah.
The anxiety, it was real, it was a lot.
Yeah. I really did feel that horror movie vibe, because, I mean, from the start, he kills off some characters. From the start, it seems like he can get anywhere he needs to be immediately. It's just sort of like a horror movie monster. If it catches you, that's it, right? Like that's all it took.
Yeah.
And so I think when Earth starts getting invaded in the beginning, or as early as the beginning, I was like, oh no, he's here already. But then I was like, wait, why would he be here already? And when his henchmen came out, I was like super just relieved. Like, oh, okay, never mind. No worries. Like, they could still put up a fight for a little while, like until we see what his actual plan is.
Yeah, they did a really good job of that. And, I was afraid very early on in the MCU, just with these films, that we were never going to get that sense of wonder of an alien invasion. People were running, but it was almost as if just the way that people were reacting, it wasn't so much that they were reacting to this realization that we're not alone in the universe. It was that it just felt like we were being invaded. It could have been people that were invading. With this one, with Ebony Maw, the way that he would make those proclamations, the way that the camera just kind of, it wasn't quite, what's it called, cinema verite or something. It wasn't quite shaky cam, but it was just the way that, you follow up close behind Tony Stark as he's walking out of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and then a car crashes into a post, and it's so close to the action that it finally felt like this is how the world would react to an alien invasion in the MCU. And to get that this late in the game, even though it's already happened before, that was really special for me.
I think a big part of that is that in from what I remember, that was the first Avengers we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
With the Chitauri showing up. They were popping out of portals, right?
Yeah.
Like they were coming out of this portal. So the portal is, extra dimensional and it's kind of weird. But I think the physical presence of this friggin' flying, like vertical flying saucer, it was like a big wheel. I guess Big Wheel showed up.
That's a deep cut right there.
Yeah.
I have to look into that.
This is a Spider-Man thing.
See, that's shame on me right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm
put that in the notebook.
just messing around. So yeah, we have this like flying saucer thing show up. That means that, opening portals, kind of spooky, extra dimensional, fine. But this thing is capable of space travel and it's massive. And I feel like that, because you're able to move large things like that's even scarier, because that means you can probably move more than just that one thing. So maybe that's why that feeling is what it is, but
that could be. I mean,
it was imposing, man. Like
I think it started with Tony Stark asking Doctor Strange if he was moving his hair.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
And that was when it was kind of like that. It was almost like a Steven Spielberg-esque, like, you can see the ripples in the puddle outside of the car in Jurassic Park. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit. And I thought the trailers did a good job of not really showing you the scope of these ships. I mean, you see it in a wide shot, like,
mm-hmm.
this is how big it is compared to the building. But then when you see Peter Parker on it, it almost looks like when he's on it, it looks like, maybe the width of a bus or something like that. And it's like, no. Like, this thing is huge.
Mm-hmm.
They did a really good job. Speaking of avoiding spoilers, I don't think out of any of the TV spots or the trailers I saw that they showed more than 6-7 minutes of footage at the most, films as of late have been criticized for showing up to half an hour of footage in their trailers. So
yeah.
5-6 minutes, that's not too bad.
I definitely appreciate, I don't really watch regular TV these days anyway, just because of I think from what little I'd seen of the trailer, I was happy to be surprised as much as I was. Like, I didn't know we were going to get Titan. I didn't know we were going to get Nowhere again. I didn't know we were going to get, I can't remember the name of the Forge. The Forge.
Oh yeah. Gosh, a lot of these.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to look those up. They have, there's those Norse realms, I guess, that they,
yeah,
from Thor and all that. But that's another thing we're gonna have to talk about that.
Yeah. How do you like that text? That text that just tells you, oh, by the way, here's where we are.
I love that the Russos and they didn't do this in Winter Soldier, but I love that, starting with Civil War, they just big words on the screen, and like they just kind of like watching some other like YouTubers and just reviewers kind of give their thoughts on it. They took a little bit of flack for it, but I like it. I really like it. And I appreciated, how the font was used. It was kind of like a Times New Roman. It made it feel proper. There's something about, it's like, this is it,
It felt very comic book in the right way. I think,
yeah, definitely.
Right? Just like, Titan or whatever the place. I can't remember. See, but it helps just contextualize it. Just here it is. Here's what you heard it. Maybe don't know how it's spelled. Boom. Like, it's right. I like it.
With some of my favorite Star Wars movies, and I'm by no means an informed Star Wars fan, but with some of my favorite Star Wars films, when they go somewhere and I can remember where that place is, and I can remember the name, like that is part of the escapist adventure for me. When you go to too many places and you can't differentiate one from the other so much, that doesn't take me out of the film, but I feel like I'm being left behind a little bit. And with this one, even though I'm like, okay, wait, what was that place called again? I can remember very distinctly where what was at each place. And I felt like they took a page out of like Star Wars book and just taking you to these other new worlds.
Yeah.
And that's honestly at this point with these films, I mean, that's what I'm looking for. And for me, they delivered. They really delivered. I was blown away at how much they were able to cover in a 2.5 hour film.
Yeah, they went really cosmic in a good way. Like, just because I think before before maybe 2012, 2013, I wasn't really tapped into the cosmic Marvel stuff. And I think I'm gonna mess this up, but it was like Annihilation, Conquest, all that, like new sort of bringing the Guardians of the Galaxy back into the fold or as a mainstream title. Seeing that in action was enchanting. Just all of the weird, cool space kind of metaphysical stuff. Like, I didn't know. I'm, you know what? Every surprise in this movie, I was super happy to have. Like, I didn't know we were going to see the Red Skull again, even though I don't think it was actually Hugo Weaving, right?
No, it was an actor. He plays a character in the Walking Dead. I don't remember the character's name or the actor's name, but I thought he did a great job. I remember like watching it. I thought, has Hugo Weaving lost weight? Like, and then I thought, wait a minute, he didn't want to do this. They got him to come back, and then it turns out it was someone else. But that was probably my favorite surprise.
Yeah.
Because I wanted them. That was one of the things I was looking forward to, is finding out, okay, where did he go? I mean, he went somewhere with the Tesseract sent him somewhere, you know, and they have to deal with it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was awesome. And, you know, there's so much speculation that goes into these films, like before they come out, and expectation. And I was very pleasantly surprised that many of the things that I speculated about, my expectations were exceeded. The location of the Soul Stone, they kind of turned that idea on its head, where it didn't really matter so much where it was. It mattered what it would cost to get the stone.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that at all. I wasn't expecting that Red Skull was, you know, even though he was last trying to control the Tesseract, you know, now he's the one who's, I guess, the guardian over the Soul Stone.
Right.
Lots of expectations turned on their head, and for me, it was the best way possible.
I think something that really surprised me about that. Thanos has a strong association with death in the comics. I mean, Thanos is a name, like the Latin name for the god of death, I think. Maybe I'm messing that up. Maybe it's Greek. But, oh no, sorry. Is it Thanatos? Thanatos? It's like Eros and Thanatos, whatever. Like, there's this anyway, he's associated with death. So when the freaking Grim Reaper just shows up as they're climbing up this mountain, I was like, is it just the Grim Reaper? Is it death? What's happening here? And when he pulled the cloak back, and he actually saw that it was him, and I was like, oh, it's just the Red Skull. The Red Skull! Like, yeah. It was a treat. Like, but you know me, I like being surprised as much as I could be, so. How about something I know I've been waiting for a long time, as soon as they showed up, were the Guardians of the Galaxy finally meeting with the Avengers, like just Earth meeting space. Like, yeah. I think I saw some fake thing back during like Guardians 1 that there was like a fake soundtrack posted, and I think the last track on it was called like Star-Lord or Captain America's just distress signal or something like that. Like, it was just this dumb thing I was following. And I was like, oh man, is this what's going to be already? Like, as early as 1? Didn't happen, obviously. So, finally, when we actually got to see them in action here, like, oh my gosh, like, I was so, anytime they were interacting or meeting for the first time, I was just, like, as if I wasn't already, but I was ready for it. I was excited.
Yeah, those character interactions and those first introductions to each other were probably the strongest part of the film. One thing that I thought was really interesting is just, you know, we're tracking like the growth of these characters over time. The first Guardians took place, it was a while back. It was a little while back. And I know that the sequel took place very close within their timeline. Mm-hmm. Now it gets a little bit tricky. Like, okay, well, when did Guardians 1 happen in the chronology of like the Earth-based MCU films? But it was interesting to see just the dynamic of some of those characters, you know, the way that Thor interacted with all of that.
Yeah.
That was a major highlight. I would say out of all of those interactions of Avengers and Guardians, that was up there. It might have been my favorite, you know.
It's really strong for sure.
I guess Tony Stark meeting up with anybody has been pretty solid in every film that they've done. Yeah. Spider-Man just kind of, you know, he becomes an Avenger within who knows how much time passed. I mean, it was a very short amount of time, Star-Lord's like, who are you guys? He's like, we're the Avengers, man. He's been an Avenger for all this time. It's been 5 minutes,
Yeah.
So that was great. I really appreciated Doctor Strange in this film. Just the way that he interacted with everybody, And Tony Stark I guess he has the most swagger, but Doctor Strange almost was like the most, I mean, he didn't take anything from anybody.
He does have a lot of authority.
Yeah.
Right? Appointed Guardian of the Time Stone is pretty, that's pretty heavy, like, right? Like, so I think he has some sense of responsibility, and that's sort of maybe where that comes from. Something I wanted to draw attention to is since Thor was like the first thing, well, it's the first thing we saw, and it leaves such an impact. There's a bit of a moment when Gamora reveals that Thanos is her father, air quotes father, and Thor, his voice is raised just a little bit, like, he was your father? And everybody in the ship, and even in the movie theater, everyone was like, ooh, like, is this going to be like a fight on a small ship? What's going to happen here? And he gets in real close, and he just says, family's going to be tough. Like, it's just is such a beautiful moment for me. And then, like, I mean, you get the sort of awkwardness of Star-Lord trying to one-up him because he's just such a man.
That was pretty funny.
It's just
like, I feel so bad for Chris Pratt. It's just he's like, you look great, Chris, or one of the Chris's. Yeah, you look great. It's I don't know, but
I don't know. They said it was one sandwich away from.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, geez. And
a gut buster.
It's interesting you bring that up because in our theater it was the same way, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like I don't know if I want to see, and this is just me not being taken out of the film, but just kind of using my just knowing, like, I don't want to see Chris Hemsworth throw down with Zoe Saldana, like it was just like, wait a minute, what am I doing? This is in the film, but it was nice to see that he did have that understanding. For me, Thor was the MVP of this film.
Really, yeah.
It just, I mean, and Zoe Saldana, her performances are always great with this character, and she may have had like the biggest development out of all the characters from the last film to this one. I mean, it was pretty huge to see, where she was at with her journey and what she was willing to do. She did a great job, and it was nice to see her be such like a important member of this whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking I'm probably going to go in another direction, so I might,
That's fair. Let's see. So the other one that stands out. So the other two moments. One was a little bit more brief, the later one where Groot, Rabbit, and Thor show up on Earth. And so there's a little bit like, oh, hey, cool, I'm Groot, I'm Steve. And then we get a little bit of a fun team up during the fray with Winter Soldier picking up Rabbit for that bit. Double machine gun and a little bit of just some fun play. Yeah.
Throwback to the first Guardians when they were breaking out of the what do they call it?
The kiln?
The kiln.
Yeah.
And when they were breaking out, and Groot was the one who was like, holding them up.
In the background, out of focus.
Yeah. Or just, it wasn't piggybacking off of that moment, but Rocket trying to buy Winter Soldier's vibranium arm.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, there was a lot of great moments. Thor getting his eye back via the eyeball. Oh my god.
Yep.
Now, was that the same eyeball?
I think so.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, he's been hanging on to it. That's nasty.
Yeah.
The other big Guardians meets Avengers moment was on the ship as they land on Titan, and then they get jumped, and we get that. That's kind of the traditional superhero clash comic thing. Like, I'm working for this side and you're working for that side. Wait a minute. Never mind. We have a common enemy. Like, it could have gone, that's just a thing that's so rote that you kind of, like, it could have gone really like, whatever, who cares? But they did it in a way, one, it was like on top of all of the stuff we've seen so far, the fight choreography just gets better and better with these freaking movies. And so we had a really tight standoff, like showdown standoff scene, and then when they're just like, wait a minute, why are we fighting? And Doctor Strange breaks the silence with like, what master do you serve?
Oh gosh.
And I just Star-Lord's response just got me like in the just right in the belly for that one, right in the gut. Just
yeah.
Oh my goodness. What am
Funny story with that. I work with a collection of characters, being a middle school teacher, and you get some interesting people there. And a friend of mine, he said that in his theater, it that moment might have, received the biggest laugh, but he was just in shock because he said, "Oh no, they're taking the Lord's name in vain." And I was just having this conversation with him. I thought, "Are you serious?" And it was just, it's funny how these moments strike different people. But I mean, if anyone's going to make a comment like that and get that kind of reaction, it would have to be Star-Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they ended up staying and enjoying the film, but it was, oh man.
That's wow. All right.
Yeah. There's always these moments in these films, but it stuck out, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that was definitely a standout moment, which is hard to do in a film like this when it was almost, people talk about the structure of this film being different, and it felt like having 3 third acts that all fit together in a way. I liked it, you can't do that for every film, but for this, it felt appropriate, at least, for me, and it worked.
Yeah.
But, so for these moments to stand out, it does remind me of the first Avengers in that people couldn't decide, who their favorite character was. And in a similar way, like, well, what's your favorite moment? There's so many. It's hard to pick just one.
Yeah.
So I think from that scene, one of my favorite lines had to come from Drax, who I thought Drax was funnier in this one than he was in the last Guardians film.
He just gets better and better.
He's great. He claims he can take a blast to the face when Iron Man's blaster was the size of his entire torso.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't take it. It's like, oh no.
We're talking about the where is Gamora, who is Gamora bit?
Yes.
Oh boy, yeah.
Why is Gamora, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Drax is such a goof. Like, if you told me that Drax the Destroyer was gonna be a standout character in this, or that the Guardians were gonna be as appealing as they are 5-6 years ago, I would have just laughed in your face. Like, I'm so happy with how these things are going. Like, I'm pleased. I am so pleased.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, I pick up comics when they're recommended to me or what I can find, but there's a lot of deep cuts that just sail right over my head,
Mm-hmm.
And 5-6 years ago, I didn't know who the Guardians were. So it's amazing what they've been able to do and the way that they've interpreted these characters, and they've changed some things, but they've made them some of the most beloved characters in, not fiction necessarily, but I mean in cinema as of late, and it's pretty insane.
I saw somebody describe it online once, like, I think when the first one was coming out, somebody looked at the poster. This might have been like a webcomic or something. I'm gonna, if somebody wants to cite this, please let me know. But it was something like, what's up with a Star Wars ripoff? It just looks like a bunch of Han Solos and Chewies. And they were like, wait a minute, that's amazing. Like, yeah, that's great. Please.
Let's do this. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember I was fortunate enough to attend Comic-Con. I forget what year it was. It had to have been 2014 because that was the year that Guardians came out. And the film was about a week away from release. Maybe it was within weeks of its release. And they had a little video, like the MCU Exchange mashup videos, and they threw the Guardians in there, some stuff from the trailers, and the audience went nuts. Even though they hadn't seen the film yet, the audience went nuts, and there was such a confidence that the creators were exuding on stage. And they played a little video from James Gunn and Chris Pratt, and it was like they knew before the film dropped what they had on their hands. And to see where it is now, the way that all that turned out, it's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, on that sort of feeling, that sort of vibe, I think from the beginning I've been excited, like seeing what they've done with some of these. I have been excited to see what they do with stuff that people aren't familiar with. I think that's a big benefit from this, is that they don't have, like, I mean, there's other problems, of course, going on with like some of the stuff in the DC universe, but something I have held is that they are working with people, or they're working with characters that people have sort of a pre-established idea of, or how they should be. And so that's there's going to be huge conflict with how you're going to see it. The same problems happen with Spider-Man, same problems happen with X-Men. These characters are popular, and therefore the audience has their own idea of it. And so when you go in with characters that they don't know, but sort of have their own established history for the most of the audience that don't read comics, because I think that's what it is. Yeah. That you're going to get an interpretation that they can stick to and they don't have to double back on because they don't have to worry about like, but we have to pay homage to this, or we have to pay tribute to this, or there were previous films. So like, you kind of get what I mean? Like, and I feel like they've just been nailing it in there. So like Ant-Man, Guardians, Black Panther, now Captain Marvel's on the horizon, and seeing just like what are they going to do with this? I'm not.
Even in if you think about like, you know, Saturday morning cartoons and in the animated world, you know, I don't know that they've done Ant-Man before in any of the animated shows.
I mean, he shows up in like some of them, but like if you mean like as a focus thing, no, I don't think so.
I don't think he's ever had his own show. I know that in the 90s they did have their Marvel Fox lineup.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing Ant-Man show up in any of those. You know, I mean, it's a possibility. He might have shown up in an X-Men episode or something like that.
Maybe.
Every now and then they would allude to certain characters without actually showing them.
Right.
That'd be kind of a funny little gag for them. But the Guardians didn't, they never really showed up in anything. But they're kind of doing that again, though. You know, with their cartoon shows, right? I haven't been able to keep up with it, but I've been seeing just things pop up on YouTube, and the current Spider-Man show, that character design with that voice actor seems, I think he's either crossing over into the Guardian show, or it could be the other way around.
Whoa, okay.
So they're kind of doing what they were doing in the early 90s. Again, certain shows are being canceled, and then they're coming out with newer versions of it, but there's a lot of crossover happening right now, and I think that they are giving those characters exposure, but they're basing it off of the movie characterizations. Even Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which came out in around 2010, finished maybe 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. Their version of Tony Stark definitely felt the influence of what Robert Downey Jr. was doing with his Iron Man, whereas the other characters not so much, because they weren't, weren't in films yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's weird. That's weird to think about. Yeah, I haven't really kept up with those, but it is interesting just having followed the comics a little bit during the sort of start of the cinematic stuff, like how the movie portrayal will affect like how they look in the comics, because like sometimes that kind of happened.
Yeah, with Samuel L. Jackson, I guess, being the most extreme case where they
yeah, right. There is something I wanted to touch on about the fight choreography, because I kind of I felt like they've improved on it in a way that this is kind of hard to say. Not hard to say, but hard to express. Before I get to the thing the cool way I'm trying to say it. Basically, it felt like after watching it, after seeing some of that fight choreography, seeing like those really just spectacular action sequences, I really wanted to play Marvel vs. Capcom. Like, like I felt like they were like, there was a lot of things that they showed, either Iron Man's nano suit, Spider-Man's, they put in Maximum Spider in this movie. In the Marvel vs. Capcom games, Spider-Man's like super move, like his big flashy move, he's like coming at you from all angles, like pop, like basically teleport kicking in.
Right.
Teleport attacking in.
Kind of reminds me of the, if you play Smash and Sonic goes supersonic, and he's just kind of like coming in and out of frame.
Yeah, kind of like that.
And golden and shiny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So to see him just pull off Maximum Spider, to see like Tony's cannon, to see like...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, Tony's Iron Man suits have progressively become more and more like skins that don't actually do anything extra. It's just sort of like implied, but you don't really get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, come on, let's show it. Let's show what this can do.
Yeah.
And they, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They went for it. And there were several big moments, several big moments with that suit. And I've been wanting this since Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Ever since the suitcase suit. Or he has a little moment at the end of Iron Man 2 where they're being surrounded by all those drones, and he just pulls out his finishing move. And I feel like they haven't had that for that character since Iron Man 2.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we've had, I think I'm going to forget what it's called because it's been a long time since 3 and I only saw it like maybe twice. But they had that really nice, the Extremis suit, right? When he's like calling the pieces onto him as it's building. Like that was something like the movie. Yeah. Stuff. The movie had some other issues and a lot of stuff going on. Fine. But that scene was one of the things I was looking forward to like the most when that thing was coming out. And to see them like keep taking that to the next level with this and then being like parts of it is forming. And then somebody made the point that as parts of it's breaking, the suit looks thinner and thinner. Like right up until the end when like it takes off like the part of his face and that part doesn't come back.
Right. Like, yeah, there was definitely you could see like the leg the leg disappeared as he was trying to keep that shield form.
Yeah. So it's like coming from other parts of it. Like
yeah, that was I thought that was pretty interesting, and he does throw that line to Banner, hey, this is nanotech, and he's been working on that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of, before the film came out, they thought, okay, yeah, he's going to meet up with Shuri, and then they're going to,
Yeah.
And guess he figured it out on his own. I don't know.
Yeah.
Bravo to them, because they, when you have so many, it's like making the Batmobile special again.
Yeah.
Which, I felt like Chris Nolan was able to do. I think Zack Snyder, I mean, it's a nice Batmobile, but, the film kind of focused on other things, but they were able to make the suit special again, which is, that's a feat in itself, considering that there's been how many versions now? Like,
I don't even know. I'm not keeping track,
we're close to 50, if not over 50.
Yeah.
But you were talking about fight choreography, and I actually, I love, it's one of my favorite aspects of these movies, and starting with Winter Soldier when...
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure who the choreographers were for that one. It might have been the John Wick stunt choreographers. I know that they did for Civil War. And in Civil War, it's got to be top 2 for me in terms of just the way that those scenes were choreographed, with Black Panther. I feel that Black Panther's fight choreography in Civil War was actually better than in his own film. Great as Black Panther is. And I'm not sure that they came back for this one. But you've mentioned that they've just gotten better and better progressively. I mean, if you go back to Avengers 1 and look at that fight choreography, compare that to the second Avengers, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Now, the second Avengers, not even close. You compare that to Civil War. And with this, it feels a little bit like a marriage between Age of Ultron and Civil War, in that it wasn't quite as... There was something raw about the action in Civil War that did remind me of John Wick.
Okay.
Whereas with this one, you're dealing with a lot more energy projection, just,
Right.
And I felt like it was in the best possible way, though.
Yes.
Because the action in this was just something else.
Stellar. The
way that there was a line, I forget who said it, but they said, I think we just pissed her off. They were talking about Proxima Midnight, when the hordes were coming out of those space ships in Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a shot inside of one of the ships, and you can just see these space dogs just pouring out of it.
Yeah.
And it's just like in IMAX, it was like the room was shaking, and you could see, and you lose your perspective of where the frame is, so it's very immersive.
Wow.
And just hearing just like the shakiness of it, and it felt like you were going to fall out of the ship with them.
Oh my goodness.
And that's not even with the D-Box presentation. Seeing Captain America and Black Panther sprinting ahead, you know how hard it is, how long they've worked on perfecting fast running for these superhero films? I mean, think back to, was it 1978, Richard Donner's Superman?
Yeah.
He's running alongside the train, just on the treadmill. You come to 2002, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. He's running on the treadmill, jumping and screaming on the, it's been tough,
Yeah. Yeah, they really sold it. I wasn't even thinking about it. It was so like smooth. Yeah.
I remember the first time I got excited where I was like, oh my gosh, I think they're going somewhere with this, was when, I forget the name of the actor. He played Blonsky. I should know. He's in Pulp Fiction.
Uh-huh.
When he's running, after the Hulk in that scene at the Columbia University, is it? It's in the Incredible Hulk movie, 2008.
Oh boy. Uh-huh.
They're at the university, they're chasing after the Hulk at the college, the university fight scene. Blonsky runs ahead, and it looks a little bit hokey, but I'm like, this is the best fast running I've ever seen in a film. And I was like, they're going somewhere with this. They didn't do it in Captain America, the first Avenger. They kind of kept it a little bit more grounded. But in Winter Soldier, he's running down the hall. He's chasing after Bucky. Then they do it again in Civil War, that highway chase scene. And where are they, in Germany? They're in...
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Black
yeah,
Panther.
that's right.
There's a lot of GIFs and stuff where you see Black Panther and, they're chasing out.
Yeah.
That was, at that point, that was the best that it had ever looked.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know I'm just like going off on this tangent about this, but the way that they ran in that scene, in this Lord of the Rings-esque battle that's going on, and it didn't look fake. It didn't even look like a special effect.
Yeah.
It was just, and you could even, again, with the proper sound, you could just hear the thump, 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 thump of their feet when they were running, and it was pretty visceral. That's
great. It was so smooth to me. I didn't even I didn't even think about it when I was watching it. That's really cool. So I kind of want to, I do need to see it again, I think, because that first time we saw it, I was just tense. I was tense the whole time. I was sitting like this. I was like squeezing the chair and everything. Like, I can't, like, I'm like, I want to enjoy this movie, but I also don't want to, like, who's going to die? Like, what's going to happen here? Yeah. And then, having seen it and just like processing, giving time to process all these deaths and just sort of what we've experienced. I think being able to go in and just enjoy the spectacle of it and then like look for stuff like that, I think will be a really cool experience. Like, I think it'll be very different. And I can just enjoy it. Even though I know at the end that I'm going to be a real sad, real sad boy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that part. Cause, Thanos just getting the gauntlet and activating it because somebody made the wrong move. It's fine. More than one person did it. Him pulling it off and then everybody eventually fading out or kind of being faced with death. We got a sort of a nice swath of different ways a person can die, right? If we think about Sam, he disappears before Rhodey can find him. He's just missed completely. If we think about Bucky, he calls out to Steve as I'm not feeling so good. If we think about Black Panther, helps
Yeah,
helps her. Yeah, Okoye. He helps her up as it's happening to him.
Yeah, maybe it was a little bit of a misdirect. I mean, it's kind of like you see this happen and you think, okay, they're not gonna, like, Black Panther's safe, right?
Yeah,
and it's just like
nope.
Or how about when a character is fading and you think, okay, so the character for this group has faded out.
Yeah.
So the other ones are safe, right?
Uh-huh. No.
Where are the Guardians at?
Yeah, we get to Titan, and starting with Doctor Strange, he's out, tells him, there wasn't really a chance, or this is whatever it is. Can't remember exactly what he said.
Or something like
that. Like, we lose, and then
Mantis, I think, is next.
Yeah, so it's Mantis, then Drax, and then Star-Lord just completely, he doesn't cry, he doesn't scream, he just goes, oh man, that. I got goosebumps just now.
I think what makes it even more tragic is he just because he has like this weird, it's not weird, but he has like this innocence to him, even though he's well into his adulthood.
Yeah,
and he comes back in that same scene and he's like,
did we lose?
Did we lose? And just this shock and this realization of like, oh man, we didn't pull it off.
Yeah.
And
this usually works.
We've saved the galaxy twice now, at least that we know of.
Yeah.
And to see someone fade away after that is... There's a lot of theories going around about Spider-Man spider-sensing his impending death.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which makes it even more depressing.
Yeah.
Because the others don't necessarily know what's happening to them unless they watch, the others around them.
Right.
But it kind of just hit them. So it's innocence is bliss in a way. But with him being, I guess, the youngest, the representation of a child.
New generation?
New generation.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's supposed to be the kid of this whole big shebang.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's supposed to represent that. But they kind of turned that on his head because with this superpower, maybe that's what's being shown. He actually senses, oh crap, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And it makes it even more tragic.
Ugh.
Yeah, that was a tough moment. Spider-Man's, hands down, has always been my favorite character. But what's amazing about this series of films is that...
amazing, really?
Yes. Insert adjective here. I wasn't more impacted by his death than I was of the others. They managed to make me care just as much for the others as my favorite character outside of these films. And
yeah.
Bravo to them, but at the same time, how could they?
Yeah.
I don't know. Has this ever been done in in any other franchise that we know of on this scale? I mean,
X-Men 3: The Last Stand, right? Just no.
Yeah.
You don't even see Cyclops die. Just red sunglasses.
Yeah.
No, that's terrible. But yeah, I don't know. Like, this was, I think you could go into this movie thinking, as long as this character is okay, I'll be fine. And I mean, well, no, because none of them got to stick around. All the old guard are the ones that got to stick around, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, I know, and I have to express this because I know that there are people like we're comic savvy. We get how this works, right? They're gonna bring him back somehow in the next movie. That's Business Insider or whoever's gonna say that, like, oh, this is permanent. Get over your characters already. Come on, don't get out of here with us. Like, we know that they're coming back in our heads. We know that.
I mean, even if you're only a casual moviegoer, there have been enough superhero films for people to know that death isn't permanent with these things,
Right. But still seeing it happen to the characters in the different ways that they do, either regret or fear or just being missed. Like that was really strong to me. I feel like where Falcon's gone before anybody notices.
Was there music that was playing at that, or was it just?
Oh, jeez, I can't remember.
I could be remembering this wrong, but I remember like wind, maybe the sound of wind, because I don't know. I have to see it again, but
yeah,
the way that they blended so many different types of films into this one, and in particular in this scene that's taking place. I mean, you have a little bit of. I mean, it is called Infinity War, but I mean, it does feel like a war film because you have your fallen brethren in the jungle. Where are they? We're calling out their names. They're not answering. You had your sci-fi space adventure where there was just a lot of different things that were going on that all blended so well. And I know that this film has been criticized because, the plot's too simple. They rely so much on characters interacting and not so much on the other things. But it's like the simplicity of the plot allowed them to do so much that I feel like it was worth it. It's not what happens so much in this movie. It's how it happens. Or
who it happens.
I guess why it happens. I was trying. I was like, no, that would actually work. Yeah. But I think, so we're talking about the snap. I appreciated how the screen didn't fade to black. It was white, right? And there was just something that was different about that. I know Lord of the Rings. They kind of tease. It might have been Return of the King, how the screen fades to black like 4 or 5 different times at the end of that film.
Oh, yeah.
And with this one, they found a way to do something that's been done before, but they made it feel different. Back to the lettering and the font, the way that the title just blew away. That was... Oh,
yeah, that's right. I was like, really, guys? You're going to do this to me too?
Or at the very end, they don't say any of the other guys are going to return. They just say Thanos will return.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Gee.
Gosh, at some point we have to talk about that in credits.
Well, yeah. I mean, we can do it now. I don't know what else.
So leading into that, a lot of people were just kind of waiting. Okay, where's the silver lining? Okay, you know what? Let's just wait till. So first off, there's no mid credits, so they make you wait till the end of the entire thing.
Yeah.
And then you don't get a silver lining. You get more disintegration. More death. And
when did that car crash? Oh.
Yeah.
And
at first I thought, this is a tie into Ant-Man or something like that. You know? It's like, okay, gone. And then you got the souped up space pager, right?
Space pager.
Yes.
Yep. So,
what
Captain Marvel,
gone? Huh? I mean, she can't be gone.
There's no way, yeah. Like, I feel like we're going to get some weird, like, either inter-universal or multiversal stuff going on to guarantee that she was safe during this. Because otherwise, like, what would be the point? How would you know that this beeper would even work? Like, somehow she has to be protected. But the thing is, we don't know at all how Captain Marvel functions or exists in this context yet.
Right.
Thankfully, we will come March, but that's still 9 months away. What are we looking at? 9-10 months away? Something like that.
Yeah, I need to look back into...
It's March 6th or something like that.
Marvel should just say, hey, January is now open season. Why not? I mean, they've taken over February and all these other months, like January.
Mm-hmm.
Make never mind, I won't reference that movie. But January box office 2015. They'll know.
Oh,
somebody will know.
Yeah. So the thing that stuck out to me about this is we don't know at all what it is. Also, we got to see the colors. Like that's definitely, I mean, we knew already, but there were some weird gripes from like set shots that she's wearing like green, but like clearly it's the red, white, and blue of the costume. Like that we're sort of gotten used to, or I guess, classic Captain Marvel, but there's so little we know about how it's going to work.
I like that it's 90s.
Yeah, that's what I'd heard. Yeah.
There was a whole talk about, she's got the Rachel, the haircut.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Sam Jackson, there was some photos released recently. Or I don't know if they were officially released or if it was just like paparazzi, but he has, he's got like a different haircut, and I haven't really looked into it too closely, but it's going to be neat to see, the younger version of Nick Fury out there. Clark Gregg back as Phil Coulson.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I never agreed with him dying in the Avengers, so, it's been great to have him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but to see him come back for that, I do want to see how that fits into this whole picture, so.
All right, I think we're just about ready for some Twitter questions. How you feeling?
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. First question comes from the Snick Man. Were there any characters either of you didn't particularly like before going in that Infinity War was able to sell you on or change your mind on?
Even though Marvel has found a way to help me appreciate all of the characters that have been in their films, I will say that Guardians Volume 2, they took Drax in a direction it was a little bit jarring for me. And in this one, it was kind of like this happy in-between of Volume 1 and Volume 2 Drax. And so even though I never disliked the character, it actually brought my appreciation for him a little bit higher. Mm-hmm. So there was Drax. It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Also likable.
Right, yeah. I would say for me, and if you think about any others that come to mind, then go for it. For me, it's Thanos. Thanos is like the main character of this movie, more or less, right? And I went into this movie and all of the sort of the lead in, all the build up for Thanos. I was like, boy, they better land it with this one, because before this movie, I did not give. I just didn't care about Thanos. Like, I'm a big, I don't know how you want to phrase this, but I was a big fan of Darkseid. I'm a big fan of Darkseid. I like how Darkseid is. I like the way he stands. I like the way he looks. They're both Jack Kirby designs. They're both Jack Kirby as heck, but, there's just something to me that was like really cool. Like, I love that Darkseid always stands with his hand behind his back. And so to me, Thanos has always been, even if I liked his stuff in some of the Cosmic Marvel that I enjoyed, he's always felt to me like kind of discount Darkseid. That's not fair, but that's just how I felt about it. I'm sorry. In this movie, I was wowed. I was just like, holy cow. Like, you guys did it. Like, I didn't think that I was really going to care about Thanos or just enjoy him or be afraid of him doing anything. But they he established he was a real threat from the get-go. He had a little bit of understanding, maybe not necessarily sympathy from him in his scenes with Gamora and the other scenes with Gamora. And then even though his method is insane, he is the Mad Titan, you understand why that was the decision that he came to. And it's not a surprise that he has his plan and he's following through with it and he executes. But
how about that character design? I mean, just how far it's come along. I really was never put thought into the fact that, this is not a practical costume. Mm-hmm. It was just, I just accepted it for what it was because they did such a good job with it, with the mocap. And you're right. Thanos is another one. I do appreciate the character more now that they've gotten it right, because that first reveal of 2012, I know people were excited about it, but even for 2012 standards, Thanos' character design wasn't quite up to, just what they did with the Hulk in that film compared to what they did with Thanos.
That's true.
So Thanos too.
That's a perfect segue here for the next question. Sunglass Pre writes, do you think Marvel making Thanos completely CGI paid off in selling the character? Or would you have used practical makeup slash effects for it. And I think actually I'd have to see some behind the scenes on this, but my understanding is that it's somehow both. Like, I'm sure there's like some kind of thing that they put on Josh Brolin, some kind of, I can't remember the words for it, some kind of prosthetic that they put on him to get that look down. So, I mean, the nature of CGI these days is that sort of, it is a mix of both. And a lot of the CGI that we see tends to be what we don't expect because the seams it's seamless. Right. Like the city was probably a composite of many scenes from different cities or whatever it is. Like, but I feel like even though he was full CGI, either I had adjusted to it, like visually, I had adapted to it very quickly, or they just sold it really well. Like, they sold the weight of his movements. He wasn't too slow. He wasn't like too fast for his size. And there was a heft to when he hit things or grabbed things.
Yeah, there was definitely, you could feel it was almost like he kind of had his own gravitational field. Because when he's coming, things, they're getting out of the way. And, well, in the case of the heroes, they're running at him. But, right. He definitely had a presence about him. And I think that it was good they went full CGI for his character. I feel like from things that I've read with Andy Serkis helping out with Mark Ruffalo and his interpretation of the Hulk in Age of Ultron, I think that a lot of that has carried on over. And then a lot of the stuff that they do in-house, they pick it up from the earlier films and they pay it forward. So I think that they had a lot of experience with the Hulk. Yeah. And so they were able to come up with something pretty special with this and feel confident, like, we've done this before. It doesn't always work. I know that Marvel films, they tend to get criticized for their CGI in certain parts, but I think that's only because when something looks great, it's hard to be at that level 10 awesomeness for every single shot. Right, yeah. But in this case, I don't know that they could have pulled off a practical Thanos to that level. Yeah.
Put Josh Brolin on stilts and...
yeah. I mean, like, oh, boy. Peter Dinklage, for example.
That's true, yeah.
I loved that he played Eitri and that they had him just, this giant size character. But I guess if I had a complaint about any of the CGI, it was the way that his giant-sized character looked when compared to the way that Thanos looked. Thanos it wasn't entirely seamless, but I mean, it was so good that I didn't think about it while watching the movie. Yeah. I think CGI was a good way to go on this one.
And finally, our last question from Good Job Grandpa. Favorite interactions between... Yeah, it's great. Favorite interactions between characters. I love Groot and Cap. So I think we touched on this a little bit, but if there's another one that you thought of, like just something that you enjoyed, gosh, I mean, of course there's just so much going on that's really hard to pick one, but
yeah, this movie has an embarrassment of riches when it comes to characters meeting up with each other. Yeah. T'Challa and Okoye. I mean, it just carries over, there was a line that they put it in so many different TV spots because it was so good. And, she tells him, when you spoke about opening up Wakanda to the rest of the world, this isn't what I had in mind. Yeah. She mentions the Olympics and a Starbucks or something like that. Those two, they're up there for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. I think I have to go with... Yeah, this is tough, but also easy just because of how, like, it got in early and it hit really hard. And it was when the Guardians meet Thor and Drax is so enchanted. Drax and everybody is enchanted by Thor. Like, what does it say is, this is no dude. You're a dude. This is a man. And they describe him like a pirate angel. Like, it's so silly, but it's so appropriate for sort of the direction that Thor Ragnarok was, and also the Guardians movies have been, right. Where it's like it's the right kind of camp, I guess. Like,
they know exactly what they have, and they have a way of having fun with it without winking at the audience so much as to lessen the seriousness of the moment. Yeah,
because you believe that these characters would say that.
We believe it, and what makes it more impressive is how much thought goes into what's being said, because when you think about Gamora, she has that reputation as the most dangerous woman in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Having been raised by Thanos, she has seen some of the greatest warriors across the entire galaxy, and yet she's still impressed with Thor,
Yeah.
And it just makes Thor that much more badass. There's another moment. Doctor Strange has a lot of great moments, and I really appreciated the interaction between Stark, Banner, and the Wizardmen. Wizard people. It's like, you're embarrassing me in front of the Wizardsmen, and they've kind of carried that over with Hulk, because Hulk embarrassed Thor in front of the Grandmaster and all the people in the arena.
That's right.
There's a lot of comedic beats that have been played through several films. Thor, his face smushing against glass has been in just about every film that Thor has popped up in, except for it's been in all of them.
Okay.
All of them. You'll find them.
I need that compilation. Yeah.
Yeah. Right next to Thor's best fight moves and all that stuff. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. There's one other interaction that really stuck out to me, and it was one I wasn't expecting, because I don't know that I've read or experienced Gamora's sort of relationship as Thanos' daughter as much as, I'm gonna kill you, Thanos, and you can try, or whatever. That I think that's mostly what I had seen. And for him to be sort of gentle with her and nostalgic and reminiscent and kind of tender. Like, these are not words I would have used to describe Thanos before this movie. And it is sickeningly endearing. Like, it's gross, but also just like, I kind of get it. Like, it's weird, but I get it. And there's a line that he says to her while he's torturing Nebula, and it's like, I'm gonna get it wrong, but basically it's like, I taught you how to fight and I taught you how to hunt, but lying, I didn't teach you how to do that, and that's why you're bad at it. Like, I thought, like, it hurts because it is a sign that she's failed, and her information is out, and we're gonna lead to some bad stuff. But also, it's really funny, like, in a horrible way to me. I was like, well, dang, man, I didn't know he was a stone cold killer, but I didn't know he was gonna slay with these lines right now.
That was pretty smooth. I was like, wow, okay.
Like, just dunking on people right now. All right.
The craziest thing that your parent has ever said to you, it's just, he's pulling all those out of his back pocket. Thanos was described as sad dad.
Yeah.
And so I guess I could see, the humor in that moment. When it happened, I took it pretty seriously, just because the whole Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 thing. I think that the Gamora Nebula relationship, even though it was not emphasized so much, it was I don't want to say it was understated, but it was pretty heavy in the film for what little we saw of it, because you just knew from having seen the other movies, like, she couldn't put she couldn't put Nebula through that again, because every time that they had battled as children, Thanos would take a piece of Nebula and replace it with some sort of mechanical enhancement.
Yeah.
So it was like she just couldn't bear to do it anymore. She was willing to die herself, but she wasn't going to do that to Nebula again. So that was just something that, even with that little time, it's always great to see those two characters interacting on screen together.
Yeah. So lots going on, a lot of great interactions. Overall, this is just a lot of fun, but also I'm still a little bit sore. So, but yeah, this was great, man. I think we're gonna have to do this again for other movies. Like, I think we did this anyway. We would just meet up and talk anyway for like an hour and think we should have a microphone between us next time.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad.
Meanwhile, the wives are talking about their thing, and we're still going.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for letting me take your questions, people on Twitter.
All right. Thanks for being on. Thanks for tuning in to the Comic Fiends Comic Friends. And don't forget, the Comic Fiend is your comic friend too.